In a shocking twist of events, arguably the best rugby player in the world has decided that it is time to shift his focus. By now, the rumour mill is running overtime, with French superstar Antoine Dupont choosing to forego the Six Nations in the hopes of bringing a gold medal back to France in the Olympic Sevens. But as the French and Irish have proven time and time again, it takes more than a single player to bring home the coveted Six Nations Championship. In fact, the two foes will meet in the opener on February 2nd, with sparks set to fly. So today, we look at whether England, Scotland, Wales or Italy can find a way to overcome these two favourites and perhaps swing the tide of the Six Nations once again. Fresh off the recent Rugby World Cup, which saw both teams exit the tournament in the quarterfinals, you can be sure that they have something to prove. In fact, England finished third in Paris, which has significantly restored confidence in the Lions. However, Ireland is the current Grand Slam champions, having cleared the 2023 Six Nations Championship by defeating everyone in their path. It is worth noting that Scotland, with a victory over England, also threatened a title challenge. But this was quickly shut down when Ireland virtually demolished all competitors. Ireland swept through Wales on day one, while Scotland snuck one past a solid English outfit in rebuilding mode, pending the Rugby World Cup. From here, Ireland would have to endure a solid French outfit, led by Dupont. Ireland won 32-19, virtually guaranteeing themselves the advantage for the rest of the season. It all culminated with a win over England, catapulting the Irish to the top of the world rankings. Ireland would have a near-perfect season before losing to the All Blacks in the Rugby World Cup. But even without the Rugby World Cup, the Six Nations brings plenty of value for teams and players. Its long history has always allowed fans and players bragging rights for being the best in Europe. Many might not believe it, but the Six Nations originally started 141 years ago in 1883 as the Home Nations Championship. It would later become the Five Nations, and more recently, Italy was added, creating a Six Nations tournament. To date, Ireland, Scotland and Wales have entered the competition a whopping 129 times, followed by England at 127 and France at 94. Italy is only entering its 25 iterations in 22-24. But overall, England has won the competition 29 times, followed by Wales at 28. This gives it a rich and important history for the teams from the British Isles. Only Italy has yet to win a single iteration of the competition, but one cannot fault them for trying each year. Since the recent Six Nations is the biggest focus, it is worth noting that England currently leads all nations with 7 tournament victories, while being followed closely by Wales and France at 6. In fact, Wales might not seem like one of the favourites, but they always seem to pitch up when big competitions are played. Now, adding to this, another important stat to look at is the Grand Slam. The Grand Slam means that a team went unbeaten during the Six Nations, winning against every other nation. In this subsection, France and Wales lead with 4 apiece in the competition. However, we should keep in mind that France has extended their tally over the last couple of seasons under the leadership of Fabien Galthy. But there is no argument that France and Ireland are the two favourites. Fortunately, Scotland, Wales and England are looking to defy the odds and walk away with the Six Nations trophy once again. So what can we expect in 2024? Kick-off for the 25 iteration takes place on February 6 in Marseille. Yes, France had to forego their traditional home stadium in Paris due to ongoing renovations and preparations for the Olympic Games later in the year. The first game will see two giants clash as Ireland will travel to France and take on Les Bleus in the opener Whilst France would have certainly been the favourites for winning this encounter, a black cloud seems to be hanging over the French squad. Arguably, the best player in the world, Antoine Dupont, is set to miss out on this tournament due to his commitments to the Olympic Sevens. But to make things even worse, playmaker and chief shot caller, Romain Ntamack, also seems to be on the injury list, and it is believed that he might still miss out on the Six Nations. Fortunately, the player who beat 75% of attempted tackles on him in the 2023 season, Damien Penaud, is rearing to go, and he is looking to be in exceptional form if we look at the end of 2023. But Andy Farrell and his troops are not without any problems either. Irish winger Mark Hansen is set to undergo surgery, which leads to him missing the tournament, whilst Johnny Sexton, who recently retired, leaves a gaping hole in the number 10 jersey. In fact, many can argue that the leadership of Sexton is one of the biggest things the Irish camp will miss. Looking at some of the other teams, there are noticeable omissions that many have grown fond of seeing during the Six Nations competition. For the first time since 2008, Dan Biggar and Owen Farrell will also be absent from the competition. This means that all three teams are in rebuilding mode for the 2027 Rugby World Cup Down Under. It might take some time for these three giants to find a new replacement for the coveted number 10 jersey, but the leadership of these three legends of the game will certainly be missed. Perhaps George Ford will finally get his opportunity to be the number 1 player in the England squad, or will Marcus Smith step up and take this honour? On the other hand, this might work out fairly well for the men from Edinburgh, as Scotland retains most of their players and could build on the momentum of the 2023 season by defying the odds and winning the Six Nations. So, who can dethrone France and Ireland? By looking at some of the fixtures, the 2024 Six Nations might be fairly predictable from the onset. The first round will give us Ireland versus France, while England and Italy square off, followed by Scotland and Wales. The winners of these games will be in the driving seat as both France and Ireland can overcome their biggest foe from the onset. Scotland and Wales will be an indicator of whether Scotland has retained its form, while England should breeze past the Italians. In fact, Scotland has a mountain to climb when they face France in round 2 and arch-nemesis England in the third round. Whilst Scotland does retain their players, a lack of depth in the squad might make things hard, forcing them to drop at least one game. Ireland and France have an easier path, with their second real test only coming in the penultimate and final rounds. This should give the troops time to recharge, setting up a massive showdown in the closing stages of the competition. Unfortunately, aside from England, it doesn't seem as if anyone has the firepower to compete with France and Ireland. Yes, a lack of leadership will make things harder, but both teams have shown they can efficiently adapt when it comes to playing on such a big stage. The lack of Dupont will be something French fans fear, but as Ireland has to deal with the same issues, it seems as if France will once again have the edge. So while this might be a Six Nations competition for the young and inexperienced, the current state shows that France is the favourite. We believe that the smart bettors would put their money on France to once again walk away with the Six Nations. However, a Grand Slam might not be on the cards this year, with teams being relatively closely matched. Overall, France should come out as victors, followed by Ireland in second place and either Scotland or England in the third position. But what do you think? Is it possible for the new generation of players looking to make a name for themselves to bring down fiery and experience Le Bleu? It will certainly be an incredible year for rugby, and you should make sure to check out some of our other videos as we walk with you side by side during the 2024 rugby season.